Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in this video, I'll be explaining about the two main data fetching techniques in React. The first one is useEffect, which is used most commonly, and the second one is using reactQuery. So first of all, both of these have different advantages. Most commonly used is useEffect, but in reactQuery we actually get some different features, which I'll be explaining further in the video. So first of all, talking about the main differences over here is we are going to highlight the main features of React Query, like its error handling, data caching, and how to optimize and how to load the data, such features. And also in the use effect as well, we will be looking into these features as well. So first of all, let me I've created a separate API for this purpose, for this video purpose, just where it is actually storing all the posts and also getting the post data as well. So we will be using mainly the get post method and also the post, and to post the data as well, add a post. I've created a API reducer for these two functions. The first one is get post data and the second one is insert post data, which is actually navigating to my URL, API URL. So now let's get started with use effect first. So first of all, starting with the use effect hook coming from React itself, let us import it first. Okay, so it's imported. Now what we have to do is use the use effect hook. I've created this state to store the post as well. So first of all, let me create the use effect hook. Okay, so right now I'm actually providing an empty dependency array to use effect because I don't want to trigger it right now. I'll show you how the add post work, and after that it will re-trigger the use effect API as well. So for over here we have to create for example, first of all we've created a post state. Second, we have to create a loading state as well to make sure that when our API is being loading, it does not show this UI, else it shows some loader or some statement on the UI to inform the user that the data is currently loading. So let me provide a false API false value here. Okay. So first of all, what we are gonna do is we are gonna create a method get post data, and in this method we are gonna use that API, this API get post data. So first of all, let me import it. Also the insert post data as well. Okay, so we have to make sure that it is an asynchronous, and we use await statement here as well to make sure that our data is fully loaded, and after that React moves to another statement. So first of all, let me get response from it. And also, like I told you that I've developed this API myself, so this is and it is deployed on Netlify, so I'll be using this API. I've already added some data, so we will be able to see the data first in the UI as well. So okay, so get post data is ready, and now let me use try and await over here. So mainly we are using try and wait to catch any errors if API throws any errors, so that we can catch them. Yes, you can provide any type currently, and over here you can also see that it is throwing the error if there is any issue in the API server. The API response, it will be throwing any error. So now coming back towards the code, between app.tsxcode. What you need to do over here is, since you are getting this response over here, I'm going to first of all set it into the post state which I defined in the upper portion. So set post response dot data. So why have I used data over here is because let me go to app dot this API. So you see I'm returning the data here. So it's gonna be requiring for us to use data. Okay, let me change its type. Okay, so mainly over here we were having some issue as I've actually called the same function here. That's why it's causing issue. Let me fix this one up. Okay, so fetch post data, and now if I now we have this. Let me write the try catch function again. This is gonna catch the error here. Okay, we are having some error over here saying that cannot find name post data. Let me check the might. Yeah, I've actually written try at the top. Okay, so now since this is how the error handling is done in the useEffect. For example, over here it's this API, if it doesn't have a 200 response code or there is any other response code, it's gonna throw an error, and we have to catch it by using try catch functionality, and using catch we can actually console log the error. Now we need to set up this loader to make sure that so to set this loader up, I'm gonna go into this function, and we are gonna return true here. And once this loader is completed, and after all of this try catch execution, we're gonna set loader to be false. And also, since we actually need to make sure that once loader is running, it shows up on the UI something when our data is being fetched, so we can for the time being show a div and show a loading text on the UI. So whenever our data is being fetched, it's gonna show us this, and when it has completed the fetching, it's gonna show us this. So let's check if our code is working or not. Go to localhost 3000. You saw that loading here. Okay, let me show you that again. You saw this loading, and after that our code is loaded. So if you go to network tab, my API is called right here, as you can see. This is the API and this is the data it is sending. So here are all our posts being listed right here. This is where we can add the post. So for now, since we got to know how we can fetch the data using useEffect, and how to handle errors, and how to do the loading stuff, make sure that our loader appears when the data is being fetched. So now we will be implementing the post request of the API, and whenever the data gets updated, we need to make sure that our UI is updated as well. For example, when I click on this add post button, it's gonna send our data to the backend server, and the backend will have another field here, but our front-end UI will remain the same, since we need to call this API, this get API again. To do that, we don't have to actually use a function and call the API again. We just need to re-trigger this use effect. So first of all, I'm going to write a statement here, enter use effect. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, for this button I'm going to create an on-click button functionality to add the post. Okay, so let me create that function, and since we need to wait till our API has completed the insertion into the database and completed the API function, so we will be using a synchronous await and using try catch as well. Cache the errors, like I told you, this is how we have to cache the errors in useEffect. This is the main turning point in the React loader, and the error handling is the main turning point between this reactQuery and useEffect. So let's response await insert post data. We will be needing a payload here. So as you know, our API accepts ID and title, title and body as payload, as I mapped here in this reducer function. So for title, we are gonna use the title that the user have entered over here on the on change. Let me show you on the UI as well. This is the title and this is the post. When both of these are done, when both of these, the user have entered data in both of these fields, and this button will no longer be disabled, elsewise it will remain disabled. As you can see right now, I can't click on this button, and this button does nothing. So now let me type body. Okay, so we are gonna send this payload to this API, and let me console log the response. Since this is a post API, elsewise I was gonna show you a toast message, but since we are gonna differentiate the two of them, we just need to show it on the console itself. That's it. Now for catching the error, we're gonna console log, type the error here, and error dot message. Okay, it's gonna give us this. You can type any. Now to handle this part where the user is actually submitting the post, right now let me show you what is gonna happen if I try to handle this myself. Let me reload it. Okay, right now as you can see, my add post is disabled. If I enter a post title, and if I click on add post, you see my button is now enabled, and if I click over here, it actually add the post into the API, but data inserted successfully. And if I go to console log, it's gonna show me undefined because of the JSON error handling here, but it is showing us data inserted successfully. Okay, so what's happening over here? I mean, why are we unable to see any of our data is not getting updated? As you can see, there is no this latest post that we just added is not here. It's not shown on the UI. But if I refresh this page, this get post API will be called again, and we can see our latest post here. So while this is because we haven't implemented to re-trigger this API call in the useEffect. So to re-trigger useEffect and to make sure that whenever we are doing any post request, the data in the API gets updated and is reflected on the UI as well. So to do that, we just need to create a new state, like added, since we are adding the post, and we are gonna pass a false value here. And just after this response is actually successful, you need to set this state. So now since we have added this specific state here, whenever the user is gonna click on this add new post button and it is inserted successfully, this state is gonna get updated. And to make sure that our useEffect is re-triggered again and we call this API to reflect the latest changes, you just need to pass this state into this dependency array. So what is this is gonna do is whenever this is changed, when a user clicks over here, the state is gonna change, and this actually monitors the state change. And upon this change of state, it's gonna re-trigger the useEffect, and inside it will go inside over here and it's gonna call this function again to fetch the latest data. So let's test it out now. Okay, so let me enter a post over here. Like we can enter PC PS5, just a simple post. Let me add the post over here. You saw we just got a loading over here and also our screen refreshed. That's because it entered the useEffect. You saw here it entered the useEffect here. If you see here, it entered the useEffect again when I added the post. So now upon clicking the add post, data inserted success, we should be having our latest data that we just inserted related to this on the UI. I haven't refreshed, you saw that, so it's right over here. So you see, this is how the useEffect is working, and this is how we handle errors and the data management and also the loader within the useEffect as well. This is how you can integrate and fetch the data, post, handle the post methods of the API in useEffect. So now we will be doing the same with reactQuery, and you're gonna notice all the changes that are there in reactQuery, and the error handling, the data caching, pagination, and how loader is being handled. You will see all of that in the next section of this video related to reactQuery. So let's get right into it. Okay, so now you saw how we were actually fetching the data and how we were handling the post request in the useEffect. Now we are going to use reactQuery, because this is the ultimate battle between useEffect and reactQuery, and we will at the end find out why and one is better than another and what are the reasons for it. So let's get started into reactQuery now. So first of all, I will be needing to install reactQuery into my project. So to do that, just need to write this. Okay, npm I, and also you will have to do some configurations here, and this will be a step-by-step video on how to configure the reactQuery. So just once this is installed, I'll show you that once our reactQuery is installed. Okay, so reactQuery is installed. You can see it in the package.json as well. Here is the reactQuery. The version is 3.39.3, and to use it now, what we have to do is, since you saw this function app, first of all we will have to do some setups for reactQuery to be implemented in React. To do that, just go to index.tsx file. Here you see app is being called. Now for example, if you have that browser router here, or you're having multiple pages and you need to obviously implement reactQuery on all of them, just you need to do this step here. First of all, we are going to import a query client provider
from React Query. And what we are going to do is over here, you see here, so we are gonna pass a client here, and we are gonna call the class of the query client. So I just got the object from the query client itself, and now I'm going to use it over here. So it's the same as you do with Redux here. The state management is gonna go through all of the application, and since we need to implement the React query all over our application, so we will be handling it like this, like we do for Redux toolkit or like we do for context API. So just do this. Next, we have to provide a client to it. We're gonna use this. So now what this is doing is it's actually wrapping our app.tsx file into query client provider. This is the parent of this file, and now we can use all the React query methods into this file, to this app.js file. Sorry, app.tsx file. So over here, now what you need to do is first of all import the use query here, use query client, and also use query here. Okay, so mainly let me tell you, this use query is actually for get APIs, and if you are doing something like post, update, delete, then you will be using use mutation. Okay, so now this is the most tricky part here. For this API, for this React query, we don't need this post, we don't need this sorter, we don't need this added as well. So you see, we are removing 3 of these states which were being used in useEffect. So all of these states gone just like that. We will be handling it without any state handling. That is the main plus point of using React query. How you're gonna do that? We have all of these methods right here. First of all, what we need to do is we will be removing this useEffect function. Yeah, so we just remove all the implementation of useEffect, and we are gonna use now the React query here. Okay, so React query is actually gonna provide you 2 of these main states. It's gonna provide you is loading from the API. Like if your API is being loading currently, it is fetching the data. It's gonna show this is loading state, and it's gonna set it to true. So you don't need to implement a separate loader functionality here. All of the loader functionality will be handled by is loading itself, is loading value itself. The second one is data. So you're gonna use query here. Now here is the thing, you to get the API.
So this is the main function that is restructured from use query hook. It is actually query fn, which is the main function to get to initiate your get API call function, which is this one. So we're gonna use it right over here. So you see how simple it is. Yeah, we need to use asynchronous here. And now what it's gonna do is, if we go over here, we are returning this response. If it is successful, it's gonna send this response right over here. Okay, I need to exit this okay, remove this state as well. So what it's gonna do is this get post data is gonna send that response, this response to this data. So this data is gonna get the value that is returned from this function, from this API get call function. So next what you need to do is, there is a state we fetch on Windows focus. I'm gonna set it false. The reason for this is I don't need to fetch this API again and again. I just need it one time. It is actually, for example, if your API is failing due to a network issue or something else issue, it's gonna refetch to make sure that your API has a successful response. So after handling query fn, for errors there is also a state. We have error and we have is error. So this error is basically this error that we are throwing. It's the object of this class, and which is gonna having this, which we will be having this error dot message. And this is error is when, for example, if the API fails here, it goes into this catch method. This is error state is gonna be returning true. So all of these values are handled by this. So there is no, you see, there is no need to use is loading state, error state, or handle it separately by using try catch. You can just use it into this using this simple use query hook. So now for this is loading functionality, what you need to do is just type is loading. If it is true that the data is being fetched, you just return loading and dot dot dot. Now if it is currently loading, it's just gonna return this, and your function is gonna be exiting, and when the loading is completed, it's gonna show you this UI part. This whole this UI will be rendered. So for error handling, this is also a boolean state. We're gonna console log the error here. Okay, so it's actually showing us that this error is of type anything else. So this is the data here. So you see that post is get.
So now if you see over here in the data part right here, which is the property we just destructured from useQuery hook, what we need to do is we're getting this error here because we have to convert it these posts, because this is coming from that state which we use in useEffect. So what we need to do is you can either use data or you can just use a separate term like I use post here. But let me tell you one thing, since we actually here we are returning a data object here, so we need to use post or data to map this UI over here and map this map function. So what to do over here is use post or data, and then sorry, we can use post or data, and that's it. Now let me check on the UI. Since you see there's no errors here. Okay, you saw our data is loaded here, but to actually show you how it is being reflected here, let me refresh it again, and this time we are using reactQuery. So you see, you saw that loading appears at the top, and now when the API data is fetched, it shows us all the posts, and also the UI is completely reflected. And only one time it is called this getPost method, and over here we can see all the response here, and we got all the post data. So this is how we are handling the get functionality in the useEffect. So like I told you before that to implement this post functionality of the API, to handle the put API method or the delete API method and the post API method, we need to use mutation. The useEffect, you saw that we need to create a separate state, like we created added state for when creating the when handling this function here. We added this set state, and then we added a dependency to useEffect to trigger the useEffect again. But over here we just need to do one thing, is we will be creating a new use mutation hook right here. So let us create that. Remember I told you that this is for all the post API and all the put and the delete one as well. And this is what we use for fetching data and for getting the data itself. Let's try this. So like in query, we had query fn. Over here we will be having mutation fn. This is fn means that function it's gonna reflect to to handle that change. Like that we are gonna make it asynchronous, and we are gonna pass the insert post data right here. So now it's gonna require you to pass the payload itself. First of all, we will be implementing some states here. Okay. So to do that, there is one more thing that you can do, which actually eases the use mutation itself. Is since you are using the payload here, change right here. Okay, you can type on error. So you see, we don't need to use any try catch functionality here. This function is coming by default, and it is destructured from the use mutation query itself. So just by using this here, and you can console log the error. If we had the toast message here, I was gonna show you that how it appeared on the toast message, but we will do that in the next video. Right now, we can just console.log into the error into the console itself. Okay, and now related to on success, yes, you need to pass here and using on success method. Okay, so over here we actually have this data as well, which is gonna reflect here. We can use string since it is returning string. If you saw this API call here, it is gonna return you this response or data dot message, but we don't need message actually. It will response or data like I showed you in the code of my API. Let's go back here. We're gonna console log. Whenever the data is successful, it's gonna show us a success message in the console itself. And obviously it's data. Go over here and see what it is returning. So you see it's returning data dot data. Okay, it's giving me an error. It's saying that it expects one argument but got zero. So this is where I was gonna show you how to handle, because I just implemented the same functionality like I did with useQuery here, but this is not the case in in mutation, use mutation hook. So what you need to do, which is actually coming from React Query itself, what you need to do is remove this here. There's no need for you to write this as well. And here I'm going to show you, it's right now showing you this error, expected one argument, because this requires payload. So to handle that, we are gonna actually call destructure this mutate a synchronous method, and this is actually handling a synchronous await function. So there is no need for you to write a synchronous await over here like we did over here. And what we are gonna do is you just need to pass a payload for this API into this property. So to pass the API into this function property, what you need to do is we have already created handle new post method, which is being called on this button click. So just go over here, and instead of writing all of this code of and writing try catch, there's no need for you to implement this. You just need payload. So we are just gonna cut the payload from here. Don't need try catch at all, and it's gone just like that. You don't require it. Okay, so now you can use await and mutate asynchronous, and you can pass the payload here. First of all, like that, pass the payload, and boom, just like that. You don't need to handle any response over here into this function. Use try catch block. All of that is going to be handled like this over here in useEffect. Okay, so we are getting some issue over here in mutation fn function. Like I told you that using this mutate asynchronous, it's easily gonna go ahead into this insert post data. It's gonna pass this payload into this function right here just by using this property. So to fix this error, I think there's something wrong with the data itself. Yeah, right here. So what you need to do is just remove this. You're gonna use any right now. And yes, remove this as well. Yes, so you see now it's working fine, because I told you that it actually doesn't require us to use a specific, like in the use query itself, the mutate asynchronous is gonna do all the job here. So there's no need to write arrow function here, because this is the one that is handling your function, and it's sending the payload. Basically it's calling this function right over here, and it's sending this payload into this function right here. So now since our mutate asynchronous is done, like I told you before, I haven't right now implemented any change to make sure that our use query is triggered again. So what's gonna happen now? Let's find it out. Okay, so let me go back, since our use mutation is now written without any code error. Let me try to add a new post again. Like for example, if I type this, it should add the post and update my data. Okay, so now let's go add on post, and we see over here it's actually what it shows us is data inserted success. So that means our post request is successful, but there is no data here. You see there is no data updated on UI, but if I refresh the screen, I can see my added data appearing on UI now, because this API call is again triggered, this get post, and it fetched the latest data. So you see this is the same issue that we had with useEffect, and we fixed it by adding the new state and then adding it into the dependency array. But for use mutation, what you gotta do is you just need to define a query key. So basically every time the query key gets invalidated, it's gonna recall the API function that you have written in use query again. Every time the query key is invalidated, at that time it's gonna recall this function in the use query hook API function to get post data. It's gonna call that again whenever your query key is getting invalidated. So how to do that is just since you need to use query key over here, this is a use query client here, this is the hook, so we are gonna use this one. Just use query hook, that's it. Okay, so use query client, sorry. Yeah, now what you need to do is go into your query key, and we have to define a query key right over here in the use query hook, because that is the key we are going to invalidate to call this use query again. So just pass a query key in an array added. Okay, so what you need to do is we pass this query key, and now on the success response of this use mutation, whenever our add post method is successful, then we are gonna invalidate this query key, which is gonna re-trigger this use effect, and this, sorry, not this use effect, but this react query and this use query right here. It's gonna re-trigger it, and it's gonna call this API function again. So just type query dot invalidate queries, and we need it as an object query key, and write the same key that you have added over here, because we are invalidating that. As the function state itself, it's invalidating the query. So added, that's it. So now our data should, whenever we add a post, our data should reflect on the UI. So let's check this one out. Let me refresh it. Okay. So and it should call my get post method again. Right now in front of you I am clearing this network tab. There are no API calls. And we need console to check whether our data is being inserted or not. So let's add a new title. So like we have added this post and we have added this title, we click on add post. It should reflect the latest change and add this post into this post list and update our and reflect on our UI. So let's click on add post. So you see data is inserted and it's showing that the data inserted is successfully. So our post API is successful. Now it should call the get API as well, get post. So there you go. Just call our get API and our data status should be at the end. Right over here you see it. It's reflecting on our UI. So you see this is why React Query is really getting popular these days, and it is also being used in large projects as well. Also it provides us much better options, like it is if you go into the code, it's providing us a separate on error functions, it's providing us a separate on success functions, and for use query which we use for get method, it's providing us a query key which we can invalidate and re-trigger the query key again instead of writing different states, and also it's providing us loading states and a data state as well. We don't need to manage the states like we do in useEffect. So it is actually a much cleaner code and a much better approach than useEffect, and also this comes in really handy when you are working on large projects, large and complicated projects. So I would definitely recommend you to try use query and React and use mutation in your projects, and you will see the difference in data caching and also in data handling. Your error handling will be so much better, man. And it's gonna show you why React Query needs to be spotted out, and it should get the spotlight now. So that was all for this video, and also for this video I made the whole backend as well. This is the API. The API that I used over here is the API that I developed myself using MongoDB and Express and Node. So it took a lot of effort to set up this whole API environment and to deploy it as well. So please go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, and so that I could continue making such useful tutorials for you and to tell you what should you use and why is this React Query your next data fetching king in React, and you're also using it in Next.js, by the way. So guys, that was all. Thank you. Peace out.